So, we are having a slight change of plan this morning. I gave everyone who was speaking in this session instructions to prepare 3 slides. And in those slides, the first 2 slides would have what are the most impactful things that have happened related to open science in your country or region in the last 18 months. And the third slide was to say what is the impact of those activities on the repository community. But I see that COAR members have difficulty in preparing short number of slides. Not 12 slides, Gultekin. Not 12 slides. Devika. Not 17 slides, Devika. So what we're going to do is invite our colleagues to come up to the front. We're not going to put the slides up. I appreciate all the time and effort you put into the slides, and we will make them publicly available. We'll put them on the website. I have them printed out here in case you've forgotten what you wanted to say. But please come up to the front and sit at the table, and then we are going to make this very, very, short, and the idea is it forces you to really identify what has been really important, so that we are not inundated with a lot of information that cannot stay in our brain for very long, but 2 very important things that have happened in your country or region in the last 18 months. And the impact on repositories. So we are starting this morning, and we will continue this session this afternoon after our Japanese colleagues speak and after lunch. We are starting with Eloy Rodrigues, who will talk about Europe, so please come to the floor, Eloy. Barbara Kern, who will talk about Canada. Lautaro Matas, who will talk about Latin America, Devika Medalli, who will talk about India, Iryna Kuchma and Oaiya, who will talk about Africa, and our colleagues, I'm not sure if both of you will come, Lukas or Michal from Czechia. So please join us on. So please join us at the table, and so why don't we go in order of how you're going to speak? So Eloy, you start here. So then I won't get confused.
Which is the other?
You're not at the end. No. Czechia is at the end. Then it's Barbara. Then it's Lautaro.
Okay.
Then it's Devika. Then it's Iryna or Omo. Either way is fine. And you are at the end.
Those of us that actually produce 3 slides of you.
Does anyone want their slides printed out?
Why not?
Okay. Okay, so I also realize we have someone from Thailand here that I didn't know was going to be here, so perhaps you could also speak in this afternoon session if you would like to tell us what's happening in Thailand. Right, so we're going to pass the mic down to Eloy, and he will get us started.
So, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation to doing this presentation. It's really a big pleasure to be here in Japan. This is not my first time, it is my second time in Japan, not like Gultekin, but my first time was very short, so I'm really enjoying this day. So I would like to really start to thank all the local organizers, CAS, for the opportunity to enjoy these days here in Japan and meeting all the Japanese colleagues. I was roughly well behaved. I just made a small trump that I put one slide more. So I chose two slides, and I said, and then on the first slide I said things that I would not talk about because they are important in Europe, but I would not talk about. So I will do this anyway now. So there are lots of developments related with open science in Europe. I think it's worth referring something that Isabel already mentioned. It's about the launching, the build-up phase of the EOSC Federation and the creation of the EOSC handbook. Also the strategic research and innovation agenda of the EOSC for 2026 and 27 that is really is shaping the way that EOSC and all these related activities will develop in the coming years. Also very important, this year we have the launching of the European Diamond Capacity Hub, so for bringing together diamond open access journals in Europe and build capacity and improve quality. The announced new phase of Open Research Europe, it was until now only the platform for the European Union research-funded publications, but now there was a commitment from 10 national funders in Europe, and Open Research Europe will serve all researchers on those countries and will operate on novel models, hopefully also embracing new workflows and new innovations in scholarly communication. And so we had also some policies at national level, especially as I am Portuguese, I need to mention that we have a new open access policy from our national funding agency, FCT, that is fully aligned with immediate open access, zero embargo, and supporting all types of open access, from green open access, gold open access through transformative agreements, and also supporting diamond open access, as we have at national level, both a repository network and an initiative related with diamond open access. So that was what I would not talk about. What I'm talking about, the two things that I'll talk about is one is a significant legislative framework movement in Europe that are related in two areas. One is about secondary publishing rights, so the right to publish your paper in a repository regardless of where it was published initially. There is several countries in Europe with legislation conceding the researchers the right to do that, and there are some movement to try to harmonize that also at the European level. The second one is the European the EU Artificial Intelligence Act, that I think it's also very important, shaping the future of research infrastructures. There are exceptions for research and research performance organizations, and especially the requirements of transparency, data security. I think it's also an opportunity that could be taken up by repositories. And to finalize, the second aspect is related with developments regarding research information and research assessment. So both the work that has been carried on around the Barcelona Declaration, but especially the work that is being carried on around COAR, the Coalition for the Advancement of Responsible Research Assessment, and especially a working group where several of us, by the way, it is managed or coordinated by Natalia Manola and Iryna Kuchma, that is also here, the working group on open infrastructures for responsible research assessment, has produced already two important results. One, principles and framework for responsible research assessment infrastructures, and another one, a conceptual architecture for the implementation of responsible research assessment on open infrastructures. I think these things are really important, and they create new opportunities for repositories. You will have it on my slides. I think these opportunities was also what we tried to address in a position paper that was recently published in March this year, that is called Impact Repo, that's trying to position European repositories for this new area. And Impact Repo is, we like acronyms. Impact Repo is an acronym where the I is about interoperable. So repositories need to be interoperable with scholarly communication and the research system. The M is for maintain and sustainable. The P is about being powered by AI, and be AI ready. The A is about being aligned with research policy. The C is about being connected, not being living in isolation, but be connected with national, international networks. The T is about training and having skilled staff, and the R is resilient to and secure against cyber attacks and technology obsolescence changes. So something that we discussed yesterday. So I think if we can make this acronym a reality in our repositories, there is really an opportunity for repositories to have a new central role in shaping the future of open science in Europe and elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Eloy. You were our experiment to see if somebody could keep to the criteria that were assigned to them about two topics. So secondary publishing rights, research assessment are the two big things, and the impact repo work that's being done in Europe are the three takeaways from your talk. I'd just like to remind speakers to also speak slowly.
Sorry.
Because it's being translated. So please keep in mind that there are people in the background trying to translate this very quickly to our Japanese colleagues. So Barbara, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Kern from Queen's University Library in Kingston, Ontario. I'm an associate university librarian there, and part of the team that I have oversight for is digital initiatives and open scholarship. I'm fairly new to Queen's University and to Canada, so I've been spending a lot of my time trying to learn about the open science landscape across Canada. So it was a pleasure to do this because it helped me also do a little bit more work on my end. Quite a bit of what I've been learning is about the advocacy and governance that's been coming from organizations that are really strong stakeholders in Canada, including the Canadian Association of Research Libraries, the Canadian Research Knowledge Network, the Digital Research Alliance of Canada, and of course, lots of academic institutions and their libraries. And we're also seeing support from the Government of Canada, including and very notably the Tri-Agency, which is made up of the Canadian Institute of Health Research, the National Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada, and the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada. And those are some of the stakeholders, just to name a few, of course, many more. So I'm going to focus on two developments in Canada that are new in the last 18 months. maybe a little bit longer than that, but not much more. These are being discussed at the national level and most certainly being discussed on my campus and other campuses across Canada. The first is the Government of Canada's Tri-Agency's revised open access policy on publications, which was released in early 2025 for review and feedback from the community. This revised policy was not unexpected, with the Tri-Agency announcing in the summer of 2023 that a revision to their 2015 policy was underway with the goal of requiring immediate open access. So the draft of the revised policy has the following key elements, and I'm going to, instead of paraphrasing, actually quote directly just to make sure I get this correct. The first is agency grantees and shareholders must acknowledge agency contributions in all research outputs, including but not limited to peer-reviewed research articles that were funded in whole or in part by the agency, of course quoting funder name and funding reference number. What's new, and again, I quote here, agency grantees and shareholders award recipients must deposit their research article in a Canadian institutional repository at the time of publication, even where the article is freely available on the publisher website. And this version deposited may be either the version of record or the author accepted manuscript and must be deposited under an open license. So there is a provision that allows authors who are prohibited by the publisher from depositing the version of record or the author accepted manuscript in a repository at the time of publication to deposit a preprint under an open license with the preprint marked as unrefereed version. An additional point of the policy includes an implemented rights retention strategy to facilitate compliance with this policy. And they are requiring, by accepting the terms and conditions of their grant or award, grantees and shareholders must retain rights over the dissemination of any peer-reviewed research article arising from agency-funded research. And this is all to take place and will apply January 1st, 2026. So the Tri-Agency has solicited feedback from the community, and that most certainly they received quite a bit, most notably from the Canadian Research Knowledge Network, which has raised a few points of challenges. One, of course, being on the deposit of preprint or unrefereed articles, given that publishers may deny that version of deny putting in a version of record or author accepted manuscript, and so there is a concern about what will be deposited into the repositories. There is also additionally the recognition of the increased workload on libraries, and that's something that we're most certainly thinking about as this takes place, and just understanding what our workflows will look like, as well as the issue of compliance verification and ensuring the policy is being applied. So these are outstanding questions, and from what I understand, they're still being discussed, and we'll learn more. The other development that I'm excited to share today is a national Canadian repository called Scolaris. Scolaris was developed by several partners, the Canadian Association of Research Libraries, which is CARL, the Ontario Council of University Libraries, and the University of Toronto Libraries, in collaboration with many partners. It's managed by Scholars Portal, which is a service of the Ontario Council of Research Libraries. And just reading from the Scolaris website, they have a very nice description. Scolaris provides scalable infrastructure, technical expertise, and community support for institutional repositories. The service uses open source repository software, which is DSpace, and is hosted and managed by Scholars Portal. Participating institutions enjoy the benefits of both local and national service models, an institutionally branded repository instance with centrally managed hosting and upgrades, shared resources, and access to a vibrant national repository network. And about 18 universities, I believe, were early adopters, and more coming on board. And of course, we're having discussions about this at Queen's as well. Implications, of course, broadly, making research more accessible to the broadest audience possible. We are thinking a lot about how to communicate the tri-agency policy to our researchers. This is a change for them, and so it's really important to think about how we're going to be working closely with them, the increased use of the repository and what that looks like for our staffing and workflows, thinking about Scaleris and continuing to put a spotlight on community and collaborations, and of course maximizing that shared infrastructure. I hope I stayed within my time, and I can pass that along.
Very good, Barbara. So if I can summarize,
Yes.
your 2 points are that the most impactful activities related to open science in Canada right now, or the last 18 months, is the tri-agency policy requiring immediate access into Canadian institutional repositories and a shared hosted repository platform. So those 2 things are very, shall we say, aligned, and we hope it gives a big boost to the repository ecosystem in Canada. Thank you, Barbara.
Great,
so moving on to Lautaro.
Thank you, Catherine. I have my 3 slides here, just in case. I need to defend the Latin American fame of being not following the rules. I am following the rules. Now, thank you very much for having me here. So I will try to focus on the most important things. Of course, I have a lot to say of the work that we have been doing during the last 18 months. But one of the biggest challenge for us is the repository network, is maintaining the repository network updated. And we now have a 3-year project with LIBSENSE, funded by LIBSENSE, in order to support the upgrade of the DSpace instances. We have more than 1,000 repositories in our region, and most of them, 80%, use DSpace. And a lot of, or majority of them are using old version of DSpace. So we now have these 3-year projects to improve the documentation, translate the documentation, have a support team, centralized support team, to help to the repositories that are having the difficulties to make the upgrades, and also a development team to develop contributions to the DSpace code. Mostly focused on the necessities of the region, but also helping to the trending necessities of the DSpace community in general. So this is one of the, and we think that we will have a lot of impact in the repository network with this project, because it's one of the challenges that we will detect it, and we also want to publicly thank to Catherine and COAR, because she was part of this idea, and we were working together for many years to reach this point. So it's part also of the core impact on the networks and the collaboration. So we also have the support of the SCOS process. We are in the SCOS cycle, and through the SCOS cycle we developed improved one component of usage statistics, and we are still deploying this in the repositories gradually, but we are having good results with this, and some impact also of measuring the usage on the repository contents in a normalized and standardized way that makes these numbers comparable, because we clean the robots and the visits, and we have the same cleaning strategy and methodology based on the counter principles to all the repositories. And the other important project that is funded by thanks to the collaborations, contributions of the SCOS process, is the decentralized ARC implementation based on a blockchain technologies that we presented in other conferences, but now it's a reality. We started with a proof of concept, and we now have a working production environment of this persistent identifier network in Brazil that now has around 400,000 PIDs assigned with a zero cost for the institution, for the repositories. This is having also a huge impact, but because you need to know that, and that was my question yesterday for CATS about how you were dealing with the PIDs. In our region, only 20% of the contents have DOIs. And that's because the cost of having of getting these DOIs is prohibitive for many institutions. So we started 2 years ago the development of this and the deployment of this solution that is a decentralized network to provide the service as a public good for our institution. And we think that this will have a lot of impact, and we are also working with our colleagues in here, OMO in Africa, together to use, in order to use ARC as an alternative solution for this. So the last thing that I want to, as important and thing that maybe will be having some impact in the future is that we are submitting proposals to get funded to extend this dark network, this DARC network, to the rest of Latin America. We need funding to do that, and we are designing a distributed metadata persistent layer with this persistent identifier. So we want to have, why we are doing this? Because if you look into the open, the different open sources that there are considered to make indicators, such as OpenAlex, and that's why my question yesterday also, they are based on DOI sources. So we need to make this network that we are creating of persistent identifier, we need to collect all the metadata or link that with the metadata that we already have and make it persistent in time in order to give the different sources we need to be present on that without depending on paying DOIs. So that's the idea of this new stage of DARC. So, but we want to also, we are trying to get funded for applying the new technologies, and I made a proof of concept demonstration of yesterday about the semantic search, multilingual search, and we think that we will have impact in the repository network also with this kind of technologies applied to make our production in our language more visible to other regions also. So that will be all. Sorry if I extended too much.
Thank you, Lautaro. So your 4 points.
Feels like 4 points.
But 2 of them were about previous impact, full activities. One is significantly working on improving the repository technologies and services in Latin America, which are often out of date and need support. And the second was the usage statistics project that you've been working on. And then the 2 other points you made were more prospective, like in the future, the PIDS project to, ensure the adoption of PIDS in Latin America, where they're not using DOIs, and then, looking at this translation potential. So, But I guess the PIDS project has already started as well.
In Brazil, that's
Okay, so thank you very much, Lautaro. And by the way, we'll have questions at the end, so please save any questions you have. And we will move on to Devika from India.
Hello and good morning. I just had 30, okay. But the other digit is 0, so it's okay. So I would like to thank Kathleen and Kazu for having me here and for all the cooperation. They're here. So last year, we got together in New Delhi. Kazu was there, Kathleen was there, and they declared INFLIBNET, which I head in India, as the community of practice hub for open access repositories in India. That was the big thing. So I head INFLIBNET. INFLIBNET is the Indian national network of academic and scientific libraries in India. And we have a mandate to network these libraries, and not only for the information resources, but we provide a lot of technology solutions, databases, you name it, all the knowledge landscape. Also, we have turned ourselves into support to higher education itself in India. We work under the Ministry of Education. So in that sense, the COP being housed at INFLIBNET made sense, and we started immediately working after Kathleen made that announcement in New Delhi. And now we are networking about 60 repositories from India, and we have harvested the metadata in a central place. And as we speak, we are going to extend the platform to be a communication platform for these repositories in India. So that's the first big thing that happened. And the second one was also Kathleen and I did a survey of the scholarly repositories in India. We will at some point in time publish this, but as of now, I would like to share only some questions which got interesting, the responses. One of the questions read that, do you have any concerns about making full text content in your repository openly available? And here we got surprisingly, yes, we have concerns from about 60% of the repositories. And only 30 said that they don't have concerns. So this is of concern to us. Why? We asked, what is your concern? So the question, the users, the respondents said that they're not sure about the copyright and other legalities when they are sharing this, and they are not sure of to what use this will be put once they make it open access. So we had a twin question: do you offer any open license for uploading content in your repositories? And a whopping 77% said that they have released the content with no license at all. So these are some areas that we have to start working on maybe immediately as a COP and sensitizing people on these issues. Even the question on metadata, what kind of metadata do you use in your repository? A whopping nearly 80% of them said they use only a minimal and basic metadata set. So these are of interest, whatever we require, and I think Kathleen and I at some point in time will analyze and maybe publish on this. The other big thing that we did in India was the Sherni initiative. Sherni means lioness. Kathleen took away the visuals. I would have shown you an actual lioness, an Indian lioness. So it is She Research Network of India. And we launched this on the International Women's Day last year. And this platform is meant to network the women academicians, scientists, and researchers in India. And as we speak, just in a span of 1 year and some months, we have 100,000 women already networked and communicating and collaborating on this platform. And most of the issues do pertain to publishing and publishing in open access because it is driven by us. So that's another big thing that we did. But the biggest thing is the ONOS, the One Nation, One Subscription initiative of announced by the Prime Minister of India and the Cabinet, the Central Cabinet. The One Nation, One Subscription is a nationwide consortium-based approach for subscriptions to journals. And INFLIBNET is the implementing agency recognized by Government of India. So under ONOS, we have made agreements with 30 commercial publishers worldwide to bring to India 13,000 journal titles, and these journal titles are free for access to all the public universities and the government research institutions in the country. These are about nearly 7,000 institutes and universities will have access to 13,000 journals. There are pros and cons. At the moment, the LAs, the license agreement, do not talk about transformative agreements. That's one thing. And we do have some APC support for this, which in the next phase we'll be talking about how we roll out APC support. But this is called phase 1, what we rolled out now, just now. But in the phase 2, we hope to address the questions of how we go for transformative agreements, and also then the APC argument does not come into the picture. So that's the other big thing that happened. And the other big thing on the anvil, don't tell anybody right now, but this is in the plans, is the National Open Science Platform that we are planning, and we are in discussions with our National Research Foundation, and I hopefully we'll have something to announce in the next few months. From INFLIBNET, we host a convention every other year. This year, the Caliber 2025 will be in a place called Tirupati, November 17 to 19. Please mark your calendars. You are all very welcome. Caliber information is there on the INFLIBNET website. Thank you very much. Did I do well?
Well, I would say you had 3 major points. One is around creating a community of practice for repositories to address some of the issues we found in the survey. The second is the SHE network of women researchers. And the third is the One Subscription, One Nation project in India. So thank you very much, Devika, and we'll move on to Iryna.
Hello, thank you. I will talk about 4 African countries, East and Southern African countries, and I'm from EIFL, and EIFL works with National Library Consortia in those countries. So if we start with Uganda, a major development is that almost half of Ugandan universities and research institutes have institutional repositories as a result of our work with consortium of Uganda university libraries. And just a couple of weeks ago, a research granting council in Uganda, which is called Uganda National Council for Science and Technology, released an open science policy, and I think it's one of the strongest open science policies I've ever seen. And it starts with a commitment from the funder to ensure operational and financial sustainability of those institutional repositories, and also for those institutions that don't have repositories yet, this funder will offer a national repository which has been set up also with our support. In addition to ensuring that open science infrastructures in the country are well funded, a funder introduces incentives, a system of incentives as recognitions, awards, grants for those researchers that use open science infrastructures, and they specifically emphasize that they're not only open science infrastructures, they're also infrastructures built with open source software. The funder confirms commitment to maintain repositories, national and institutional. And what's also interesting that in this policy they mention that they will collaborate and offer support to preprint platforms, which are obviously not set up in Uganda, but managed internationally. I think it's also a very forward-looking action that an African funder is going to collaborate with preprint platforms. And then similar things that Isabel mentioned about policy in Spain, where there are also provisions about ensuring open access to research data under as open as possible, as closed as necessary principles. Funder will also promote equitable open access publishing, which is diamond open access publishing, and support transparency in peer review process, which is a way for African governments to say open peer review. There is a requirement, like in Spain, to provide immediate open access to publicly funded research outputs under Creative Commons attribution license, ensure that outputs related to publications are also available, and they introduce in responsible research and researcher evaluation and incentives practices to really incentivize quality science and diversity of research outputs. There is also a mention of persistent identifiers, and in this policy they say that ARCs are as valid persistent identifiers as DOIs, and they would support fair and equitable approaches to persistent identifiers. My colleague from Ethiopia highlighted a growth in the National Open Access Journals platform. It's called Ethiopian Journals Online. More and more journals are joining this platform, managed by major university in the country on behalf of the ministry. And almost all journals in Ethiopia are diamond open access, not charging neither authors nor readers. And another development in Ethiopia is that there is now an increased awareness of researchers on the benefits of managing research data. And there are institutional data repositories, for example, in Addis Ababa University, and also there are national repositories, sector-specific repositories set up by different ministries and governmental agencies, for example, statistics or Ministry of Agriculture. And as there are a lot of developments going on in the country, like in India, there are discussions about setting up a national open science platform that will bring together repositories for publications, for thesis and dissertations, for research data, and also other developments. In Zambia, my colleague highlighted a project which facilitates culture change in the country, embedding practicing open science. And it's a collaboration between two African countries, Zambia and Uganda, where they develop digital infrastructures and they also build skills of researchers and librarians to support open science. And in the major university in the country, they're setting up an office that will manage diamond open access publications and discuss how those journals that are still charging article processing charges could become diamond open access journals. And they believe that an implication for repositories would be that because researchers will be more aware of the benefits of open science, they will be more willingly contributing their papers to institutional repositories. And finally, my colleague from Zimbabwe shared that in one of the universities, a library is reopening a university press. And that university press will be run on free and open source software, Open Monograph Press, and they will collaborate with African Platform for Open Scholarship, which is based at the University of Cape Town in South Africa. And they believe that this university press operation will also enhance repositories content because those books, open access books, will also be available in the repository. And finally, in Zimbabwe, they are very proud that they, almost every institution has an open access repository, and it's built with free and open source software, although there are some challenges in upgrading that software. Thank you.
Okay, so if I was to summarize across those 4 countries, there has been a major policy adoption, open access, open science policy adoption in Uganda. And there's a trend towards shared platforms related to Diamond Open Access.
And research data management.
And research data management. Thank you, Iryna. Omo?
So thank you very much. So Iryna had 4 countries, and there are 53 countries in Africa. So you have to bear with me. I'm going to have to go through each one of them. But no. So I work for WACREN. WACREN is the West and Central African Research Education Network. So my view, it will be a little bit higher on a regional basis. So when Kathleen said, 2 things, I can see there's some resonance here, because one of the most consequential advancements in the last 18 months has been more formal policy recognition of open access and open science. So across the region, in different forms and different guises, you're having structured conversations around policy. So more inclusion of open science, open access. The dialogue is at all levels. So regional economic communities, I made some notes, I should look at them. In Eastern Africa, for instance, there's a regional activity to try and support the open science recommendation. So the usual stakeholders in the region are working at that. In Southern Africa, there's the South African Development Council, essentially have sort of done the same around open science and cyber infrastructure. So policy and infrastructure are the 2 areas where there is this conversation. But this, I think the important thing to say here is the formal policy recognition. A little while back, the governments didn't really speak about this, but now they're starting to do that. So Iryna has mentioned same thing is happening. So for those who have seen me speak at these meetings before, WACREN coordinates LIBSENSE. So for the last 6 years, we've had this grassroots initiative where we sort of stimulate these conversations at national level amongst in the countries we support, not only in my region, also in the other regions. We call them National Open Science Roadmaps. So what's changed in the last 18 months is that some of these conversations are starting to mature. So they are now moving into actual implementation of infrastructure. So that's what I think is the second key thing that's happened as well. So Iryna mentioned some in those countries. From the NREN point of view, this has been more along the lines of trying to abstract the institutions from the issues that Lautaro mentioned, because we find that institutions, when they have this infrastructure, repositories or whatnot, the capacity to keep them up to date sometimes sort of erodes with time. So what we have done, as again, you might not know that WACREN has a relationship with NII, and thanks to Kazu's team, Masaharu, we have been working at national shared platforms based on WECO 3. I'm sure the Japanese will know what WECO 3 is, if the rest of you don't. So that's also moved on. And we are, as it is, if you follow WACREN or LIBSENSE or my social media, you will see we have just announced a call for the Nigerian deployment. So we're doing it with the Nigerian authorities, but we want this to be community-driven. So we've had an open call for the institutions to respond, and we're getting very good responses. So if you've also seen Kazu's graph, I'm really looking forward to something like that, where the graph starts and it keeps on going up. Another area that I think, so it's really about the infrastructure, moving from the conversation, the policy, to the actual systems. That is just about started. So one area is in persistent identifiers. There is an economic problem in Africa with using DOIs. They're just expensive. We do not think that long-term we will be able to own our infrastructure if we don't have alternatives. So the alternative we have chosen in collaboration with our brethren in Latin America is ARCS. So in the last 18 months, WACREN has deployed a platform to be able to issue ARCS to the institutions. It's called PIDS-Link. So that's one significant thing that's happened. Along the lines of the national shared platforms that we're launching in Nigeria now, the intent is to do that right across the region, in English and in French. So fortunately, because it's in Japanese already, it also supports multilingual use. Iryna mentioned books. Open access books are also becoming more of a thing. In Nigeria, for instance, there's a book project run by what's called the Tertiary Education Fund, but up to this point, it had been print only. Although the intent was ostensibly to advance the use of these books, print does not do that. So there's this new project, and these new projects to sort of produce open access books all have repositories as the end store. So that's also also stimulating the use of repositories. We're also using repositories as preprint servers. We don't see any particular need for bespoke preprint servers, especially at this time of our development. So those preprint servers are also serving as the foundation for Diamond Open Access initiatives. So by overlaying the repositories with a lightweight publishing infrastructure, we're using software called Kotahi, but we're trying to drive Diamond OA publishing initiatives. One more important thing, this is the third one, that Iryna forgot to mention, is that we're actually collaborating with another organization called the African Journal Online in a broad African support for Diamond Open Access. So we're basically inviting journals who need to either flip from APCs to Diamond Open Access or already Diamond Open Access and need strengthening. And it's led by EIFL, but we end up giving them support, some support in financial terms, but also support for editorial, improving their editorial capacities.
Community of practice.
Community, yes, we do have a community of practice, thank you. So I suppose in terms of the implications, and I want to save you summarizing for me. Okay. So in terms of the implications, I think, it is really, now that there's this consensus on growth in the policy, and then the outlays and the infrastructure that has been laid, what you would tend to see is new networks that catalyze sort of cross-sectional open science activity. Because we have sort of climate specialists looking for repositories, agriculture, and we see that that's going to create create impetus that drives that agenda. Otherwise, increase discoverability and interoperability of African research and bolstering our capacity to sort of work in global events like this. Thank you.
That was so many points, I don't think I can summarize them. Given that we only have 8 minutes left, I'm going to turn it over to Lukas to talk about Czechia.
Hello. Thank you for being here, and I'm making short because we have only a few minutes. I think most important things in the last year, last 18 months in Czech Republic was that we started a new project. It's founded by Czech government. It's a nation repository platform. It means this project should provide storage, tools, repositories for scientists and public institutions. Because most problem was that if someone has some data, has some storage or store computers old and unupdated or old some repositories, it's not exactly a good way how to long time term preservation for this data. So this kind of platform is started. It's beginning of last year. The platform will cover 3 repository systems, which are most common in Czech Republic: Minho, DSpace, and ARL. So this is and the capacity, especially for us, will be really huge, 50 petabytes. But everything should be fair data there, supposed to be. And how I mentioned at the beginning, it has also the tools. So it's not only, let's say, the repository and you can upload the data, but also about the functions and services which this platform will provide. So it should convince the scientist to put the data there. One should be AI, it means authentication and authorization, because not only, yes, it's for open data, but the scientists sometimes they don't want to share data because they are sensitive, for example, or if they are under some license. So this part of it will be, we have to, let's say, have some permissions, auditing, who has access, and so on. Also, it should be connected to computing workflow. In Czech Republic, we have 2 projects or systems. One is Galaxy project, and second is Axis platform, which allow to transfer the data from the repositories to clouds or to supercomputing center, do some research and upload back, and also connect devices directly to repositories. Like if we have microscope and there are large amount of data, so it will be directly pushed to the repositories with PID, metadata, and so on. So the researcher doesn't have to do anything, let's say, or their job should be much more easier. So I think this is the platform, which is for 5 years. It's there are much more tools, but this is what I want to just mention. It's for 5 years, this project, and now we are at the beginning, or let's say it's 2nd year of this project. And based on this project, I will follow another. It's start at the end of this year. So far it's called Open Science 2. Because what I mentioned, the platform is only infrastructure, but we need some groups or community to use it. In Czech EOSC, we create, the Czech EOS, I think it was 3 years ago, we create 12 working groups for cross-cutting and 8 domain science figures, like sensitive data, AI, social scientists, health, and so on. And this kind of groups, they create so far 30 repositories which they would like to have in this platform. So it's really, and to these groups, anybody can join in Czech Republic. So it's really well connecting, like infrastructure, scientists to have some impact. So yeah, this is from me.
Thank you very much. Well, I think we have a few minutes, Kaz. We can probably go a little bit into the break for questions, if there are any questions from the audience. For me, I saw a lot of alignment, I think, even though the regions and the countries represented here are very different and from very different parts of the world, but some of the themes that I think came out are stronger policy adoption. So the policies that we're seeing adopted now are much stronger, and this was also reflected in Isabel's presentation this morning. Trying to improve the quality of infrastructure and moving towards shared infrastructure for not only repositories, but for Diamond open access journals and so on. And the lone person who talked about research assessment was Eloy from Europe, and I do think actually Europe is farther ahead in that particular area, but hopefully other countries will be following soon, because it's one of the key things we need to change to be able to really to be able to really bring open science fully into fruition. So again, open it to the floor for any questions or comments. We will have another set of presentations this afternoon from a whole other list of countries. So it'll be interesting to see whether we see those common themes coming out again, or different activities. I'm looking and I don't see any hands up. Well, of course, you're also welcome to discuss this over the coffee break. So thank you again to our panelists.